Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to today's debate session. So, today we have Zare running as an independent candidate and Jiaquan and Sue Wern running from the party Ignitas for the position School of Engineering representatives. So, before we begin, let's take a quick look at the itinerary for today. So, we're going to begin with an introduction, which is what's going on right now, which will be followed by opening statements from all our candidates. And then we'll have a cross examination where all the candidates can ask questions to each other regarding their manifestos and policies, which will be followed by a Q&A session from the office bearer and then a Q&A session from the students. So, everyone who's watching, feel free to drop questions in the comments below, which will be answered later on. And then we'll end with a closing statement from all the candidates. So let's begin with the opening statement. Sorry, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Good evening and welcome to all our dear School of Engineering students that joined us today in our debate. I am Zarek Kozanyan. I'm standing here today as your School of Engineering male representative, candidate for term 2022, to serve our student community in Monash within the School of Engineering. Coming from being the president of the Institution of Engineering Malaysia, Monash Student Section, and achieving to enhance its performance, making it the most engaging club under MIMEC, I aim to obtain an auspicious outcome to all the essential modification our faculty requires. I'll be addressing and overcoming the mentality of segregation based on the engineering discipline by developing customized program that requires collaboration among the various engineering discipline students. Moreover, I will work closely with the head of each discipline and the staff members to further engage with the student community at our faculty. I also seek to empower female engineers by elevating their significance in our profession. I'll be formulating a program named Monash Female Engineering Program, which will be focusing on empowering the female engineers at our faculty. I aim I'm also willing to assist the Monash Women Engineering Club in its task to further enhance its performance and provide it with the support it requires. Furthermore, I aim to enhance the supervision on the faculty staff and ensure the transparency of the decision made. Additionally, I will generate exceptional opportunities to enrich our knowledge and experience by collaborating with external organizations and companies, and to effectively prepare us to our professional career. I would like to utilize this opportunity in my opening speech to address that I'm not going to represent School of Engineering alone, as many of you think. I'm running individually, yes, but as a matter of fact, there will be a female engineering representative joining me once I win this election. I sincerely hope all the engineering students vote for me as their representative, so we can spread equality, accountability, and unity together. Never underestimate the value of your vote, and I do assure you that my profound determination and experience will enable us to implement these policies needed in our faculty. My personal role model election statement was hope is attained by hard work. As a result, I had this deep conversation with myself, and I decided to stop hoping for things to get better in our faculty, waiting for a miracle to happen. I made the decision to stand here today as a candidate to materialize our hope together. I'm willing to invest all the time and effort these alternations require. Let us achieve this together by voting for me, voting for us, benefiting you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zare. Now we have Jia Kwan and Sue Wern giving their opening statement.
All right. Hi. You hear me clearly? All right. Hi. Good evening, fellow Monasians. I'm Suren, and with me I have Jiaquan. We are here today as we would like to be the School of Engineering representatives for the year 2022. Today, we would like to share with all of you our manifesto in greater detail. The few key points I would like to highlight are normalcy, open, unity, and transparency. Heading into the first point would be normalcy. And coming from someone who had never been on campus before, we miss out a lot on campus life. We did not even get a chance to go on campus tours or visit our school's lab. Hence, if we do get a chance to head back on campus next year, we will be negotiating for school-wide lab tours. If that isn't the case, we also plan to negotiate for virtual lab tours and live demonstrations for cancer labs, especially for students starting from the 2020 intake. If the situation permits, we also plan to organize a physical campus tour for SOE students. The campus tour will not be just catered towards the new Year 1 orientation students, but also will cater for students coming from the 2020 intake onwards. Furthermore, in order for students to immerse themselves into campus life more, either online or physically, we plan to revamp classic events that SOE students used to enjoy, such as farm engineering race and the mathematics competition. And this concludes our first point. Based on my experience from before, I never exactly knew anyone from the other schools in Monash, as mostly everyone I knew are from SOE or MAFE. And I also did not know who to reach out to in order for more career information. Hence, this would bring me to our second point, open. In order to achieve this point, we plan to organize inter-school events that require application of business, engineering, technology, healthcare, pharmaceutical, and other disciplines. Competitions such as hackathons, student product concept launches that are inclusive of every school in Monash can be held. Planning for Engineering Day, where college and pre-U students are invited to come and learn more about the various departments of engineering, are also one of the plans that we would like to execute. We are planning to organize industrial site visits, virtual site visits, as well as a career fair in collaboration with MAMEC and CMO Career Services too. We will also be expanding the Discord channel to include alumni as well as postgrads in order to boost students' connection. And that's all from me, and I'll now pass the floor to Jia Chuan. Sorry, Jia Chuan, I think you are muted.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay. Thanks, Suan. I'm Jia Chuan, your SOE Rep candidate, and I will focus on unity and transparency. Even though we are separated due to COVID, it does not mean that we can't stay united as we progress into Monash. We noticed that one of the key problems of online learning is the first one, the tendency of not keeping track of the workload, and second one, the feelings of isolation, which is understandable due to the multitude of announcements and assignments that we have. Thus, we plan to extend year rep duties other than just SSLC itself. Year reps will work closely with the lecturers to compile weekly announcements or deadlines for core units at the very least into a single post and announce it onto a year-centric platform, which we believe can help students keep track of their workload. To tackle the feelings of isolation, we also plan to hold SOE meetups or study session channels in which students can connect and interact with their cohorts or even seniors in an online platform. Both of these initiatives will be done mainly on Discord, which is why we will be consulting the SOIP reps closely on the restructuring of the SOE Discord server. To further our Unity agenda, we also plan to establish connections with our Australian counterparts, Monash Engineering Student Society, or MAS for short, where both sides can share their experiences and views on the academics and co-curricular in Monash. The next point we want to stress is transparency. Regarding SSLC, SETU, and U review, we do not feel that the student lecturer feedback is streamlined enough. Thus, we plan to advocate for the installment of town hall, not just for chemical engineering students, but for the entire student body in SOE in general, where students can immediately direct and receive feedback with their unit coordinators. We also plan to formalize the year rep program, where year reps require nominations and the event of competing year reps. An internal election will be held among the subcom or the cohort itself. Of course, a reward will be given due to the increase in responsibilities, such as a recommendation from the unit lecturers that will be working closely with the year reps, as well as an official commendation from MUSA SOE and the Monash Student Council itself. That concludes our opening speech. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your opening speech, candidates. So now we'll move on to the next session, which is cross-examination. So this is where you guys will be able to ask each other questions about manifestos and policies regarding each other. Okay, so Zara, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I would like to ask multiple questions, and then I would like to respond and ask you guys to ask me questions. All right, so firstly, the previous SOE reps asked you guys if online learning situation continues, what are the techniques you would be following to keep students motivated, right? And you guys mentioned that you're gonna do nightly meetup session, virtual labs, and establish connection with Australia, as you guys just mentioned now. All right, let's go through them one by one. Firstly, how will you perform the nightly meetup sessions when students cannot even cope with their studies? And how will you maintain, like, let's say, high student involvement, let's say 10 to 20%? How will you convince year three, year four students to join, to daily join? Will you guys be present there in every single day? Yep, that's for my first part. You can go ahead.
Okay, regarding the nightly sessions, of course, it's not a compulsory session for students to join. If they are like, let's say, feeling lonely or like they're feeling stressed, they can actually join into the channel itself, which we believe that sorry, I think one of you is unmuted. Okay, I'll repeat that. Okay, so regarding that question, of course, the session itself is not a compulsory event. There will be moderators and students who feel isolated or lonely. They can join into the Discord event itself. Like as I said, it's not compulsory lah. Okay, and for moderators, as I said, we have our subcom. We also have your reps in which we have 21 in general to help us moderate. So I don't see a problem in terms of moderators regarding that question. Okay.
So is it that? So it's just minor follow up question. So the moderators will be present there all the day.
Yes. During the nightly sessions, starting from 6 to around 10 to 12, depending on the situation itself. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you mind asking your questions one by one? And once Zari is allowed to answer, ask the questions first, and then Jiakwan and Suwern. So right now, Jiakwan and Suwern can ask the questions.
Okay. Let's see. Suwon, do you want to?
I think you can go first because as I think you all can hear, it's fogging very heavily on my side. I'm afraid that you all can't hear me clearly.
All right. Okay. Sure. No
So
problem.
yeah.
Okay. Zari, I have one question that I want to ask. In the election guide, you mentioned that you want to establish regular consultation sessions. How does this actually differ from the regular consultation sessions each unit has for the students? And of course, who will be in charge of scheduling and moderating these sessions, considering that both students and lecturers have busy schedules?
All right. Thank you for the question. Actually, what I plan to do is to contact the head of disciplines and the staff members. So, in these consultation session is not regarding consultation about a specific unit, unlike the regular consultation session, which you can request from your unit coordinator. So, the aim of this consultation session is more towards to make a unity among the students and the staff members. So think about it this way: how if you were back in campus, you could actually just go to your own lecturer and knock on the door and ask them the question you have, whether it's depending on one unit or regarding the university or even some policies or even about life experience if you want to ask lecturer. However, due to the online delivery mode, there's a lack in this where you cannot actually approach the lecturers that easily, and via email it's kind of inconvenient, and students are facing difficulties in obtaining the answers which they want. So this session will actually kind of resolve that question, in which even the scheduling is going to be kind of pre-planned. So we're going to talk with the HODs, we're going to talk to students, and then see, let's say, if we're going to put up a certain date, we need to see the schedule of the students. Maybe we do it in the weekends or maybe after uni time. So it will be in coordination with the HODs. And who will be running it? It's going to be SOE Reps, along with the year representative if needed for moderation. Does that answer your question?
All right. Sure.
All
I
right.
think it's
Okay, Zari, you can ask your question, and please take note to ask the questions one by one. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Okay, my second question is, okay, you made this mind-blowing claim of establishing connection with our Australian counterpart, reminding us why we joined engineering in the first place, right? You addressed this in the election, and you are part of the student leadership network. Am I right? Before I ask my question, is that correct?
yes.
All right. You are okay. What I can see is you're kind of making a promise of establishing a connection. And in the Student Leadership Network, which we are both involved in, we were invited to join our Australian counterpart event on August 21 and August 25, which I attended both of the events and requested the recording. And then you did not attend to these recording. So why didn't you sign up? My question is, why didn't you sign up? And if you were really who you say you are, let's say, why didn't you sign up and join to the attend? If like care about, you should be present. Like, why are you expecting us to follow your vision if you don't attend what you falsely claim you want to do? So, yeah.
All right. Regarding that question, I said before I made my statement, I want to say that before I'm a representative, I'm also a student. And regards with that event, I had clashes with one of my units, which is a signals lab, in which I had to attend to order to consult my lecturer on how to do the labs. And as I said, if there's a clash between event and studies, of course, I will choose studies because that's out of my control. Okay, so as due to my absence in that event, of course, I will go for my lectures instead of going to an external event. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I have a small minor follow-up question. So is it actually that you prioritize your studies over your responsibility as a SOE rep? And if that's how you
I
actually
wouldn't say that I
have time
prioritize
between both,
both,
as
over
going
which I
into
will
year
try to
three, actually,
manage.
you're gonna
Okay. Okay. I wouldn't say that I'll
sure,
prioritize one
go ahead.
over which. I'll, of course, try to manage both of it, which I have done reasonably quite well over these 2 years. But in the event that it clashes, and I said it clashes, of course, I'll prioritize my studies first. Because, as I said, while I am a representative, I'm also a student as well, and I paid fees to come here and study, right? Okay. So if there is a inevitable clash, of course, I would choose studies. But in the event that I'm able to sort of manage my time, I will, of course, manage it well and try to prevent clashes between them. Okay.
Also, sorry to step in again. Please don't talk over each other and wait for the other person to finish first. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Jiaquan and Suwern, you can ask your question now.
All right. Okay. Sue, I think maybe you should ask the next question.
Hi, yeah, I'm going to speak a bit louder so to ensure all of you can hear me. And if you all can't, just let me know again. Yeah. Okay, so basically, my questions would be that Zara, you mentioned that you plan to develop regular surveys and complaint forms, and students are actually like encouraged to showcase like their opinions anonymously. So I wanted to know that how is this different from the SSLC Set 2 and U review? So basically, like the multitude of the feedback forms, right? Wouldn't that actually discourage students from giving feedback instead if there's like too many feedbacks? And also regarding like the voting systems, what decisions are you thinking of letting the students handle regarding this?
Okay, I will answer the first question, then ask you to repeat the second. Okay, regarding the first question about the feedback, okay, it's not extremely different than what the feedback currently session is, and it's not just an additional feedback form upon the ones that are currently evolved. So the current ones are more towards the units and are more towards, as like, let's say you do it in week 3 and there's like stages where you do it, but then there's no like 24 hours feedback session, and there's a bit of miscommunication, and there's a border between the students and the faculty and the SOE reps. So the students, let's say if you have a problem on a certain day, even if it's a really minor problem, you want to resolve it, there's no like, it's kind of hard for you to go and seek advice. So there's, even if you have a certain problem which you want to complain upon, it's extremely hard for you, like students, they don't know the procedure. So this like form is going to be anonymous, and if the student wants to show their address or wants to put it in, they can do it. And it's going to be more towards the things are not related to the unit. Let's say a behavior of a certain lecturer, or a decision made at a faculty level, or a decision made by a lecturer on the assignment date, let's say. And then, like, let's say a group of students kind of disagree with this, and there are some consideration which the lecturer might not be aware of. It's not that he intentionally did it, he's not unaware of, but then it's not like a strategy to go and put it in the yearly feedback session or feedback it on the unit. So it's just a matter of miscommunication, and these minor feedbacks should be kind of collected and accumulated into one form which the student can easily access and refer back to us for guidance, and which we in return can assist them. So yep.
All right.
So we're gonna have to end this session here because 10 minutes have already passed. So we'll be moving on to the next session, which is Q&A session from the office bearers. We have Amaya and Delana here today to ask the questions. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, Anmo, before that, we don't have a lot of questions, so if you want, you can extend the cross-examination by about 5-10 minutes, if that's okay.
Just a second. Okay, you may proceed with the cross-examination session.
S-
So Zari, you can ask your question now.
All right. I have a question regarding the experience and the extracurricular enrollment of you guys. So you mentioned that you did Student Leadership Network, you did undergraduate research opportunity program, you did participate in more than 1.5 year in your respective committees. But what I would like to ask is kind of do a minor comparison and ask what's the addition of you guys having. Let me clarify. So let's say when I took over IEM as a president, which yeah, for in the beginning of this year, I was able to take IEM from one of the lowest clubs, from the lowest popular clubs to the best club under MIMEC. Well, so what I'm asking is overcoming both of your clubs. So my question is, what is your contribution to your each respective clubs, and what is the improvement you guys actually achieved? And moreover, what are the extra things that you guys have that makes you fit to the position? Yep.
All right. JQ, you want to go first or should I?
Maybe it's best if you go first. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So to answer your question, Zara, so basically, me as a vice president for Monash iComing student chapter, right? So from previously, actually, we did notice that some of the year reps aren't exactly, that close with all of the other their cohorts, year students, which is why actually for this year, right, we actually take care when we are actually selecting like our year reps to ensure that they actually know like who to send those messages to. So this is actually like basically our manifesto about like open and unity, where the year reps is actually should be like they should have like a close relationship, as well as the SOE reps should be have a close relationship with like all of the students that are involved. Yeah. So this is one of the major steps that I had completed, and I will let JQ talk about his point as well.
All right. Regarding my contributions towards EA MMSS, firstly, what I would say my contributions is we managed to increase the performance of our events from starting from an online setting that has really low performance last year up to an event that we had around 85 participants yesterday, and it was just occurred and it just happened a day before. Last year, our engineering mentorship program had only 50 to around 60 participants. But in this year's engineering program, me and my team alone, I'm not saying that I'm the only one who contributed. I would like to credit my team as well, as we managed to increase not only the amount of participants that joined into the engineering mentorship program, we also tried to extend the scope of which our engineering mentorship program covers, which is not just engineering students, but also prospective engineering students as well, as attested by our involvement with the MAFI students. Okay. And regarding, okay, I won't focus too much on EAMMSS as well. I would like to focus on the past leadership that I'm currently in. So basically, I wouldn't say that I have too much contribution other than the fact that I tried to increase the academic performance of our students in my respective units. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Larry.
Yeah, I do have a minor follow-up question. It's more towards how you guys increase the involvement. Because our like, okay, what I see one of the biggest issue currently is if the clubs are having multiple and numerous events. Let's say there are more than like every week there's 4 events happening concurrently during the weekends, but then there is no involvement. You mentioned that okay, you did an event one day ago and there was an involvement. That's correct. But seeing the overall trend and seeing the performance of, I'm not saying I'm just talking as a president. I'm saying like my club and my team, and comparing to other clubs and teams, I'm saying that there's a lot of over event evaluation. Like you guys, like all the clubs are doing a lot of events, which they're not focusing on the quality of the events. And the impact resulted from these events are not actually impactful because there's just a lot of things for students to attend and they're losing the value. So that's the one of the things I would like to emphasize on. And I would like you guys to ask you what are the quality of the events you guys are looking into. So not only on the quantity of the events, but the quality of the events. So what are the activities you guys are planning to do, not at a club level, but as a SOE level?
Okay. I have just one question for Zari. You said that our events were too focused on quantity instead of quality. What that was one of our agendas when we first took up EAMMS's position as to my president, and that was one of her main key points that she wanted to address. my question for you is, have you actually attended other events that was not held by IEMMSS?
Yes, I did attend many, and but I personally would like if you can answer my question first. So yeah, I can then refer back to your question. Could you answer my
Yeah,
question?
because my question depends on your answer as well.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. Regarding my involvement, yes, I did involve and I did collaborate. To be honest, there's MUSA Welfare. We did two events in the last 1 year. I even collaborated with women engineering clubs recently. So I even attended many of the other clubs' initiative and collaborated with many other events, many other clubs. So yeah, does that answer your question?
All right. If you said, okay, answering back to your question, if you said that our clubs were too focused on quantity instead of quality, you'll notice that we only held two events last semester and two events this year. But what I wanted to point out is all of our events had full participation. Okay? We had full participation for all of those events, and that's where we want to address your question as it is. Okay? And regarding SOE in general, if we wanted to sort of increase the participation, of course, we will need to do our own demographic review on trying to find which event caters towards most students, like which kind of events that they are more inclined to go against. Of course, we will need to do our own research and review, and we will also uh, tailor our event based on that feedback that we got. Okay.
And to answer your questions regarding that, we prioritize quantity more than quality for iChemie, right? I would like to say that that is not true at all. So, for example, me and my team for last semester, we actually did plan a hallmark event where we actually got participants coming in from Indonesia and participants from like other schools like Sunway, UTAR, UCSI, yeah, and a lot more. Yeah, and the participants rates are actually quite high, about 100. And the feedback that they give, right, they mentioned that it's very great that we have actually planned this type of events where they actually get to meet like new friends, do competitions, win prizes, as well as learn more from like those industrial professional. Yeah.
All right, candidates, thank you for your answers. So I'll be stepping in to assist in moderating. Just a kind reminder to those who are commenting in the comment section, please take note and be mindful of the language you use when addressing your questions to the candidates. All right, so before we end the cross-examination session, Jia Chuan and Suwon, you have one question left for Zari before we move on to the questions from Office Bear.
Okay. Zari, I have one question that I want to just to confirm lah. No, I participated in the mentor mentee session as I said I've noticed this for you of the MMSS. Yeah, that's my question.
Right. Before we move on, I think Jia Chuan, you lagged just now, so we weren't able to hear your question. Could you please repeat it? Thank
hello,
you.
hello.
Yes.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zari, I have one small question that I just want you to clarify for me. Can you explain how well connected are you with the current student community? Because as far as I know, because I've participated in 3 mentor-mentee sessions that was used to give orientation to the students, and I noticed that you were not present in this year's mentor-mentee sessions as well. And also with regards to the Hello Buddy session, which is used to sort of give the new students as a platform. So you're not present in this year. So can I ask you to clarify on how connected you are with the current student community? Thank you.
Zari, do you need it to be repeated?
I did not catch the last part, but I get the question. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that why didn't I participate in the mentor-mentee program and the buddy program and these kind of which happened, right? Is that correct? All right. To answer your
Yes.
question, it was all right. Okay, to answer your question, it was during my year one, sem two. So when I joined my year one, sem two, I took over being the president of IEM, which was a bit of a challenge for me. So to be honest, I was having a bit of difficulty in managing my time, especially it was my first year, and I was not aware of the units I'm taking and all of that, especially choosing my discipline. So it's not like I was not involved. I was involved in other things. I participated in the student leadership network. I'm currently in the beginning of my year two, and I'm participating in Europe. So to be honest, it's not like I'm not participating, but then I did not participate in that single event which you pointed out. But then because it was due to my early stages of my degree, and I was actually being involved in alternative events. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
All right, thank you, candidates. I would just like to remind you on the questions that should be asked. It should be to review your manifestos and policies that you've stated, rather than whether or not you've been attending any of the sessions or activities that's been ongoing. So just a gentle reminder on that. But with all the questions, we will now close the cross-examination session and move on to the Q&A with the office bearers. All right. So for Dulana and Imaya, I'll pass the floor to you.
Yeah, so just my first question to Zare, regarding your feedback form or the feedback system you're trying to implement, if, like, from what I heard from you, it sounds pretty similar to the feedback form maintained by the vice president, right? It's open 24 hours, and it's up for whether it's good or bad, any units, any comments. You can be anonymous as well. So, am I wrong? Is it different to what the vice presidents maintain, or is it similar?
Okay, in the basic form, it's not different. It's actually just another implementation within the School of Engineering. And I was what my aim of the feedback session was to actually contact the head of HODs, the head of discipline of each department, and even promote these feedback sessions. Because the issue is currently that even if the vice president is doing it, and even if MUSA is trying its best to do it, actually there's a lack which student actually they don't know these feedback exist. And I'm sure now that even the participant now they're a huge lack where they were unaware of this. So I'm not saying that actually the feedback is ineffective. I'm just saying that the feedback being informed is a bit too general, and I'm making a small scope of it, small scope version of it within the SOE, which will actually target. Let's say if you have minor feedback within one unit, one assignment, anything within your unit, we can kind of assess them. So that's the mentality used for the feedback form. Does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-up question?
Yeah, but then no follow-up questions, just my suggestion, personal opinion. I okay, no, never mind. No follow-up questions. Thank you.
All
Imaya?
right. Thank you. Thank you.
Imaya, you have any questions? Or?
Yeah, so for Sare, you mentioned in your manifesto that you want to improve transparency, right, when it comes to complaining, and I assume that's regarding academic misconduct panels, right? So, and the appealing process as well. How exactly are you going to go about that? Because I'm a little confused on like how you would want to improve transparency on that aspect.
All right. The transparency on the decision, it's not limited to the academic. Just give an example of it. So that's what I was actually kind of aware of. And so I saw that, okay, actually students, when they receive the notice of the decision, there is no actually in-depth explanation to why the decision was made or such in this respect. So I would like to enhance that. And regarding the appealing process, it's more towards providing support, and not only support, effective support to the students. Because actually, at the end of the day, what's happening is even for the students that are actually writing a formal feedback, which is one of the forms of writing feedback, the third stage, actually the students are facing issues with writing the complaint. So they're not sure how to write it, how to direct it, what's the grounds they can do, and then the assistance they are being provided actually is inefficient. So what I aim to do regarding that matter to actually is to kind of work with the HODs, as I mentioned, and work with senior members and staff members to provide actually a specialized consultation to the students. Meaning, let's say if you have a student have an issue with a coding exercise, or he wants to feedback on a coding lecture regarding a certain code, he's being provided with a counselor that does not know anything about coding. and then he's not getting the assistant he wants. So let's say he wants to say that actually the lecture, let's say, reduced mark for a syntax error. Well, actually there was no error or something like that. Not a syntax, let's say a logical error, but then the way you do it is actually correct. He wants to feedback about that. But then the counseling being provided is not assisting the student in actually showcasing that point. So I'm gonna make a bit of more like specialized counseling to the student, so they are more aware and more prepared to provide their feedback and kind of complain about any issues they have. Because actually, my personal stand is, without complaints, without feedback, we cannot grow. Because what we see currently is just what we are doing, and that's the impact we have. But then in order for us to improve, we need to reach to have feedback. If we just have new initiatives, it's not sufficient. We can do a new initiative, but then maybe this is not what the students actually want.
Hi,
We need to
just
receive their feedback.
to keep your
Yep.
answers concise, all right, as we need to
All
be
right.
fair.
Actually, that was my entire question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sabrina.
All right, I think Imaya is experiencing some technical difficulties. So in the meantime, Julana, do you have other questions you'd
Yeah.
like to ask? Yeah, thank you.
Another one to, like, as in both candidates. So my point is that when going through your manifestos, what I realized is that you guys have a couple of new initiatives that you guys have in mind, a couple of flaws that you see in the past representatives, and the system that you want to improve, or new initiatives that you want to implement to counteract the situations. My point is that can you just directly or very concisely explain to me how you guys a flaw you see in like the past 2 years which were carried out online, and a new or quite an attractive way of solving the issues that you guys see? Goes to both parties. Question.
Okay, I'll answer first about this. Okay, so in our debate speeches, we did mention that we'll be not reinstating town hall, because right now town hall is indeed has this kind of initiative, but it's only for chemical engineering students. So what we propose is, we as the student engineering reps, we try to expand this entire network to the entire SOE community, such that students can directly receive and direct their feedback towards a unit coordinator, and the unit coordinator can, as well as the unit coordinator can straight away give them the feedback that they want. Regarding to transparency, I wouldn't go as far to say that we will monitor the lecturers, because this is outside the job scope of school representatives as stated in our constitution. But as I said, we will sort of enhance the involvement of year reps, which will require them to work closely with the unit lecturers to get announcements or to receive a more direct feedback of the students. Because what I found to be a problem, right, is that students, even though they have like problems, they don't tell the lecturer directly. They just complain they more or less complain to their friends, I'm guilty of such a thing. But I feel like if we have the year reps to sort of coordinate the feedback from students and pass it on to the lecturers and wait for the lecturers to give a feedback, I feel like that could be streamlined with the application of using of sort of extending the year rep duties, I would say.
All right. Regarding one of the flaws which I was aware of was kind of the lack of bridging between the SOE and the club members and the head of disciplines and the faculty. So to clarify, let's say at the club level, or let's say when there's any kind of initiative being taken, actually there is limited to no support from the faculty being provided. And actually it's more towards like we have to approach them, and we have to kind of continuously seek guidance and ask them to promote our events, to reach out to a certain students, let's say. So let's say if you do, let's say, an initiative about civil engineering, we have to contact the HOD of civil engineering. It's not more towards that the HODs are kind of providing us with guidance on what activities to do to assist their students. So I believe there's a bit lack of miscommunication, and I would like to encourage the HODs to kind of be more involved with our job. Because okay, I agree that we are the student representatives, but then as a student representative, there's a limit to what we can do and cannot do, and our guidance is only limited to our personal experience and to the friends we have and to the feedback we received. However, I personally also believe that the HOD's feedback is extremely important, and I will be seeking to kind of be in close contact with them while being the SOE rep. Yep.
Just a follow-up question to Zare. You mentioned that how would I word it? Yeah. So, like the head of schools reaching out to you, I think it's more of the representative's job to reach out to the head of school instead. Because I think with the administration duties plus teaching a couple of units, they have their plate full. Yeah. So instead of expecting the head of school or the head of the course to reach out to you, you would have to reach out to them. Moving on. Sorry, Imaya. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Yes.
That's about it from me.
Just sorry, I would just like to clarify something. It's not like to ask them to contact us. It more towards to make them more engaged with us. Because what I feel like, even as a SOE or as a club president or whatever the initiatives that are being held with whoever who's the representative of it, actually there is a lack of communication with the HODs. There's a lack of support from the faculty. So my aim is to kind of strengthen the support we actually are being provided, and not towards waiting for them to approach us. Just to clarify my point. Thank you.
All right. Just a gentle reminder, please only speak when you've been directed. Dulana's previous point was just a suggestion slash recommendation. So you should only be speaking if the question is directed and seeking for an answer. All right. Thank you. So now I'll hand it over to Imaya.
Okay, so my question is for Suwon and JQ. Do you guys have any plans on like um, virtual lab classes or anything like that? Like if like let's say the next year is also going to be conducted online, like have you guys thought of like, because like we've gone almost 2 years now without any like lab classes, right? Like I know that there have been some virtual lab classes for some units, but like not every unit has been looking in that direction. So do you guys have anything in mind to like bring a certain initiative regarding lab classes?
Hi, Imaya. So this is just basically specific for online, right? Just to double confirm. All right. Okay. So basically, what we have planned is that the lab demonstration, right? It can be a live session. So, for example, the lecture can actually, it can still be online, but the lecture can actually sort of show us what is this and how to do like connections, or how does the pump work, how does the compressor work, how does the tube work, something like that, or how does the the stir tank reactor work through all of these means. And then that is the first, the live demonstration. Then after that, follow up with like a Q&A session. So for example, students will be like, oh, I can't see this part clearly. Can you maybe explain more in depth about this to me? Yeah, so through this way, right, it's actually sort of like a live session where there's a one-to-one, not exactly one-to-one, it's like there's a live interaction, yeah, between the lecturer and the students. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
All right.
All
Before
right.
proceeding to the last question, just be reminded to the audience to ask your questions. Um, Please remember to mention who you'll be directing it to, as moderators will only be able to direct your question only if you've stated so. So if you sent in a previous question which you have not directed, please repaste the comment and include who you'll be directing the question to. Thank you. All right, Imaya, for your question.
Yeah. So Zare, you mentioned in your manifesto something about bringing in customized programs. Does that mean that you will be introducing a new unit, which is going to be like common for all majors? Can you explain a little bit more on that?
All right. Actually, no, not certainly. I was not thinking of that. My thought was more towards talking to the companies such as Gamuda and other companies, and actually getting some kind of, let's say, an internship program which kind of assists the students that are want to take an internship. Maybe they can do it in the semester break, or one semester break before their internship. That's a possibility. And what I was thinking is more towards because there's a big lack of students being aware what's happening in the industry. So I'm not only like seeking to kind of fill this gap using workshops and kind of getting industrial speakers and such, because actually it's becoming a bit over too much where students are actually not seeing the benefit of it. So I was trying to kind of alter the approach and making it more towards a program, let's say 1 week or 2 week, that can be held within the semester break or the midsummer break, where students can actually join and kind of enhance these skills and actually obtain knowledge about the industry more and how to prepare them. Yep. But in a way, like I'll be focusing on talking to companies and institutions such as IEM or ICE or Gamuda and such. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you, candidates, as well as office bearers, for the questions and answers. May I know from the office bearers, are there any other follow-up questions or additional questions that you would like to ask to our candidates?
No,
That's it from
that's it from
me.
me.
Okay, all right. So we'll now proceed to the question and answer session with the audience. Due to the large volume of questions coming in, we may expect a delay. So I will provide updates from time to time on the session duration. All right. So moving forward, I'll be selecting the questions to be asked. So those that have been directed will be the ones being selected. If your question has not been asked, it may be due to the way you have phrased your question, as well as it has not been directed to any candidates. So if you would like your question to be asked, please resend them in the chat in the appropriate manner. Thank you. So amongst the questions, we will begin with the first one. So to all candidates, assuming that everything is back to normal, what kind of ideas do you have for events? And how confident are you to run them? You may also include why you believe that student bonding is important. So following the order to answer the question, we'll first begin with Zare, followed by Jiachuan and Suren, and then we'll go in an alternative manner for the following questions.
All right. So if we go back to the campus, actually, I would be looking towards. Actually, I don't believe we're going to be 100% face to face. So I would be looking more towards a hybrid events. So I will look into making some events that actually online students, which are international, and local students can both attend. So actually, similar to what I mentioned about the one of the events, which actually most of my events could be applied both online and face to face. So let's say the about getting organization to assist us making programs, these can actually work face to face and also online. And other than that, some of the initiatives I will do more not towards the events is kind of familiarize with the student with the campus, because I think there's also a small gap in that. So let's say year one and year two students actually not sure about the campus, they're not sure they're not sure about anything in the environment of the university. So I was thinking of making like a virtual. I know there's a virtual university hub which students can go through, but a bit of an informal method which actually can also benefit the student. So actually, that's an initiative which I will kind of make students more adaptable when they go to blended learning or back to face, along with the other initiatives. Yep.
All right, thank you, Zari. Over to you, Jiachuan and Suren.
All right. Assuming that everything is back to normal, we did mention in our opening speeches that we will plan to hold lab tours, physical tours as well around the campus, and of course industrial visits, and of course the revamping of those traditional events such as farm engineering, which is a sort of like a scavenger hunt that was held in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. With regards to how confident that we will run the events, as I said, I cannot guarantee like a high amount of certainty. But to my knowledge, the representative from SOE 2018, which was the last batch, 2019, which was the last batch to actually experience physical learning. In my knowledge, he is a postgraduate in Monash, so it doesn't hurt to ask him about it, right? And of course, we still have our CMOs, and we have like lecturers, uni lecturers that can provide feedback on how we can sort of get started with trying to go back to the old normal. So with regards to confidence, I'm fairly certain that we can hold these events out with the help of past graduates. No, not past graduates, like seniors and also the uni lecturers. And student bonding is indeed important, as we have highlighted in one of our manifestos that feelings of isolation within the student community has caused people's mental health to be taken a toll. So of course we need to connect students with students in order to let them like have a place to, for the lack of a better word, is to vent their frustration, but for in other words, it's sort of like to share and to sort of to share and to also kind of like consult or console each other, I would say.
All right, before we move on to the next question, for Suren, do you have anything to add to this?
No, actually what JQ mentioned was like what we had sort of come into contact and discussed with before. Yeah, so all good.
All right, thank you, candidates. So moving on to the next question from Jiraya. In the case where campus does not open in the following semester, for Ignita's party, how would you replace the lab tours that you have mentioned for student interaction? And to Zare, what events would you hold for the students if things remain online? So the question will first go to Jiaquan and Suwern, then followed by Zare.
Alright. So basically for this question, right, like what I have mentioned before, if we are able to go back to on campus, we will be having sort of a campus lab tour. And if touch wood we aren't or we aren't able to go back on campus, it will be we will try to petition and ask for like a live demonstration instead. So where there's an interactive session between the lecturer who is demonstrating the lab in school as well as the students studying online. Yeah.
Is there anything that they would like to add on, or should I continue with my answer?
Jiaquan, do you have anything to add on before we proceed? All right, Zare, over to you.
All right. So regarding what events I'll be holding if it's online, well, I will definitely. Okay, one of my initiative was kind of to make an event which the school of, let's say, like civil engineers, mechanical engineers, and chemical engineers can work together. Because another issue that we are currently facing in our faculty is that, let's say, as a civil engineering student, I barely know any mechanical engineering students other than the ones I was met in my year one and ENG 2005, which is kind of like a common unit. But other than that, it's kind of like we are kind of divided into each discipline. And then, like, if there's an event, let's say most of the events are kind of made to one a certain discipline. So let's say precast concrete technology, which actually one IM did it, but it's kind of like towards civil only. So what I will try to do is do events which kind of unite all the engineering members together to kind of create a more united engineering faculty, I would say. And yeah, I'll do like a competition, and I will also look into the same direction which my other candidates were looking into, which kind of to create with other faculties. However, what I would personally recommend is I would not limit, but my first step would be to approach the SOB, School of Business, because I believe like engineering and business are kind of complementary. So I would, other than going to healthcare and psychology, I would first focus on the School of Business, and I will make initiatives with them. And upon success, I'll continue with the other faculties and further the network of the events happening with other faculties. So yeah.
All right, thank you, candidates. Moving forward, we have a question directed just for Zare. So you have mentioned many initiatives targeting year 3 and year 4 students. May I know what new initiatives you have planned that is catering to year 1 and 2 students?
Okay, events towards year 1 and year 2 students. Actually, there's no specific unit, like specific event targeting them, because actually what most of the initiatives I'm aiming is towards all of them combined. So even the events I'm holding, it's not actually for year 4 and year 3 and year 4, whichever combines everyone. However, I believe your question is more towards if the people that are new intakes, how can I assist them? So I will definitely keep on the current initiatives being taken, like the mentor-mentee program and such, because I believe it's really efficient. I would look into kind of enhancing them by maybe asking for feedback on them regularly, or I would also look into actually requesting from the HOD's support or any other further recommendations. But at this point in time, I don't have any initiatives for year 1 and year 2 specifically. But if you have any proposed initiatives, please let me know. Yep. Thank you.
All right. So just to the audience as well as the candidates with us today, we're expected to delay until 7:55 p.m. So if there are any issues, please make sure to inform myself. Okay. So moving on, for this question is directed to Suwern and Jiaquan. How would you bring back normalcy to the SOE experience, seeing that all of us have not had any on-campus student life for the past 2 years?
All right, I'll answer this question. As stated by Siwen, we already mentioned that we are planning to hold lab tours, and we are also fighting to go back to campus as we have, from my understanding, there is like a statement from medical and health sciences that they are proposing to get students back to campus. So from my side, we'll try to advocate for SOS and also SOE students, which also require labs to go back. And with regards to that, that is one of the key steps in trying to bring back normalcy to the SOE experience. And also, we also tried mention that we wanted to revamp from engineering and engineering maths competition that was all conducted before pre-COVID. And as well, industrial events is a must, in my opinion. And let me see. Okay, so with regards to us not having any on-campus student life, right? So while I do agree that because I also started my own Zoom university last year, as I said, we have amount of resources ranging from lecturers, from even our seniors, starting from year 3, they will at least have like one or half a year or 1 year of experience studying on campus. So we are able to sort of use that as our reference to try to tailor our term if we do get elected, and try to push forward the stance that we have in trying to get back to normalcy as soon as possible. That's all from my side. Hope I answered your question, Chingwei.
All right, Suren, do you have anything to add to this?
Nope. Thank you.
All right, so we'll be moving on. Please note that I'm not going in order of questions, but to balance out the questions directed at candidates. So moving forward to Zare from Qingwei as well. In your manifesto, you place emphasis on empowering female engineers. Can you further elaborate on how you intend to do so despite the lack of a partner that you're running with? There's also a follow-up that you may take note of before you answer. Earlier, you've mentioned that you will have a female rep joining you. Could you mention whether or not you have recruited a female rep to be appointed in the interim should you be elected?
Okay, regarding emphasis on empowering female, it has nothing to do with my running individually. Because actually, I think you kind of misunderstood it. Because actually, what's going to happen now is if I get elected as a SOE male representative, there are going to be something called by elections, in which they're going to be the unattended positions are going to filled by another election, meaning they're going to be election happening for the female engineering representative. So how I'm gonna showcase my emphasis on empowering female engineers is through the program which I'm gonna make, and through my assistance towards the Monash Women Engineering Club. So regarding the first one, which is the program. So what I talked with the head of student experience, and upon like a discussion, I believe it's actually extremely feasible and it's a necessity compared to other universities actually have these initiatives beforehand, and this initiative will kind of empower women and actually showcase their value in our profession. Because I do believe, and I have experienced female engineers which they feel they're kind of not fit to the industry or the profession of engineering, which is kind of wrong in my opinion. So yeah, and regarding the women Monash female, like the club for regarding female engineers, I'm gonna assist them in kind of towards providing them with support. I'm going to provide them with my time and my support, meaning I'm going to try to obtain some further collaboration among them and the unit coordinators. Let's say we kind of connect the head of chemical engineering with them, so we can make an event to female engineers in chemical engineering, to female engineers in chemical engineering, and so to other disciplines. So we kind of combine all the female engineers, and with promotion from the HODs and the unit coordinators. Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you for your answer, Zari. So moving on, we have a question directed for all three candidates. How would you describe the relationship between you and the fellow members of your cohort? Can you describe the working relationship between yourself and your fellow club members? So for this, we will start with Jiaquan and Suren before moving to Zari.
Okay, with regards to my relationship with my fellow members of my cohort, I would say I have a pretty amiable relationship with my cohorts. I think some of my electrical engineering students can attest to that, since I was the one who brought some of my friends, some of the ECSE students together. We'll try to expand this network, but as for now, because we only got into ECSE this year, so I wouldn't say that it's a huge network, but I am trying to sort of create a ECSE network in Monash with all this pandemic going on. And I'm also quite well connected with people from mechanical, civil, and software. Because I'm from EAMMSS, we are a multidisciplinary club committee. So I would say I have a pretty amiable relationship with them. And to describe my working relationship between me and my fellow club members, I would also say that we work efficiently, since we manage to hold our events as smoothly as possible. So of course we will have like a smooth and also a smooth relationship. Suwon, do you want to add on?
Yeah, so basically for my relationship with my fellow members of the cohorts, right, I believe is great since because actually we do have a like WhatsApp group together where me and a few of like my cohorts or members or teammates that we actually like discuss, and sometimes if they have feedback that they would maybe like to let the lecturer know. Some of them did let me know instead, and I actually helped like convey the message to the lecturer themselves. Yeah, so that is something that I would like to highlight on to show like my relationship with my cohort and my members of my cohort is actually quite great. And regarding the working relationship between me and my fellow club members, that is also very very great since because we actually not just like successfully plan a lot of events together, we actually sort of grow together. So thanks to all my teams for my club where the workload we actually share it out equally, and if anyone have any problems at all, usually it's a very healthy environment where we can actually seek for help, and if someone is having problems we definitely will help out anytime. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
All right. Actually, I'm kind of similar to other candidates. To add on my relationship with my fellow members of my cohort, actually, it's great. I throughout like the teams I had like in the different units and through my personal, I even kind of like private message members within my within the units. I try to have contact with them. So I believe it's great. I have like good connections, and not only within my cohort, I would say like even throughout the entire discipline, because I kind of like even get in contact with like my seniors, and we kind of created a new club together, which was kind of amazing, and contacted the HODs. So yeah, I believe like I have good connections within my discipline and other disciplines, but not as intensive in other uh, disciplines, I would say, due to the kind of we're not gonna meet in campus and it's kind of hard due to the online learning. Regarding the relationship with my fellow club members, I believe it's great because actually our club was we actually enjoy all of us. We kind of enjoy working together, and we don't kind of how to say we are rotational. I would say so. I kind of assist my team members do their work. They kind of assist me, and we all work collaboratively. So I believe that's really amazing, and we kind of have an amazing relationship with one another. So yeah, I believe that would also be reflected in the SOE reps, in the subcommittees and the main committees. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you for your answers. So to remind the candidates as well as the audience, as we have an overwhelming number of questions, I will select the ones that's most relevant to both candidates. And any questions that go unanswered may be put into the Know Your Candidate series in the official Instagram for MUSA page. All right. So moving on to the next question to Zare, given your future colleagues may be from a different party, how comfortable are you with working with these school representatives, and how will you ensure bias-free bipartisan collaboration?
All right. I don't see the party as being any kind of hinder to my SOE rep because I believe we, at the end of the day, we all aim towards one goal and we all are working together towards one goal. So I don't believe there will be any kind of bias or they're not like, we're not, I'm going to try, actually, I'm going to ensure we're not kind of segmented and we're going to all work collaboratively to ensure what we all want to reach. Because at the end of the day, we're not gaining anything and it's more towards actually we have the same goal of achieving what's the best for the student community within the School of Engineering. So yeah, I don't see any kind of hinders regarding parties. Thank you.
All right, for the second to last question, to Jiaquan and Suren, other than the mentorship program that is already done, do you have plans to build the bond among the seniors for year 3 and year 4 students with the juniors, which is inclusive of year 1 to year 2 students? May I know which?
Suwon, do you want to answer this?
Yeah, sure. All right. So regarding this, one of the initiatives that we actually plan to have is basically for our Discord channel, like what we mentioned before. Of course, we are trying to include alumni and postgrads. And since that the seniors, like year 3, year 4 students, postgrad students, alumni students, if all of them are in there, along with the newbies, the or year 1 students, as well as year 2 students, they actually get to like know each other and grow their connections via this. JQ, you have anything to add to this?
Yes, actually I have. Like we are also trying to go into a more organized one-to-one mentor-mentee program. So the previous mentees in this semester, we sort of expect them to sort of give back by joining as a mentor for a minimum of one academic year after their own year one. And that is because since they are already given, so they have already received help. So it should be kind of, how to say, it should be more or less like bare minimum for them to give as well. So that's why we are trying to revamp the mentor mentee program from, like, let's say, because currently, if I'm not mistaken, Dulana, the mentor mentee program is like one mentor towards like a lot of mentees, right?
Yeah, actually, just about 3 or 4. Yeah.
3 or 4 mentees. So what I feel like is maybe we can sort of give like an expectation to the current mentees that is in this semester that they will sort of be required to give back to SOE and be the mentors that they are towards next year's year one, year two students. Okay, that's
All
all
right.
from my side.
Thank you for your answer. Any other add-ons before we proceed to the final question? Nope. Okay. So for the final question, it's addressed to all candidates. So please make sure that you think about this carefully and word your answers as concise as possible before we end the Q&A session. So to all candidates, do you believe that having ethics and conducting yourself with integrity is important for you and your team? Do you think professionalism is something that should be maintained? If so, how do you plan to ensure that ethical conduct and professionalism is being maintained and that all parties will be held accountable for their actions regardless of hierarchy in the future? So to begin, Zare will take this question, followed by Jiaquan and Suren.
All right. I think definitely, like the other candidates, also we definitely have to ensure ethical conduct and professionalism being maintained. But regarding the second part is how will we hold them accountable? Well, to be honest, if it's like, okay, the main issue which I'll be more highlighting on is the kind of the staff not being held accountable and not towards the student not being held accountable. However, let's say within the SOE, let's say members itself, if any of the students have any kind of wrongdoing with any other student, engineering student, let's say, or any kind of complaint was received towards them, we have to definitely take it extremely seriously, and we kind of have to investigate what's the cases, and then kind of make an appropriate decision by either getting them out of their current position or kind of providing them with advice to not do the same issue again. So regarding when it comes to the faculty members, I believe that actually hierarchy is being kind of, it's not like it's taken really seriously. So I believe like we kind of need to let's say if a unit coordinator was not performing well and there was complaint, we kind of need to inform the head of disciplines, and if there was a head of discipline, we need to inform the head of deputy of the school. If the head of deputy, we need to inform the head of school. So we need to kind of ensure we need to maintain ethic, conduct, and professionalism. Yep, that's my answer.
All right, I'll answer for the ethical conduct and professionalism. Of course, I do believe that ethical conduct and professionalism should be maintained in MUSA because, from my understanding, a lot of problems that is within Monash and MUSA itself is due to the fact that most people don't the constitution is not followed. In the majority stated that this part of the constitution should be amended. And of course, I'll be if me and Suwan were elected, we'll also be working closely with our party to try to amend any unreasonable stances that is present within the constitution. And with regards to academic integrity, one point that I would have to disagree is that for the academic integrity breaches, right, the procedures and all those is actually can be found online. So students who are actually charged with academic breaches, right, they can actually Google or go to the Monash page to find out how they can get their way out of the situation. But of course, I understand that sometimes due to the multitude of information, as we student reps are always there to provide the necessary feedback and help that they could have. But we are only responsible towards the scope that SOE reps are allowed to give. Okay.
Anything to add in from Suwon?
No, what JQ mentioned practically sums up, yeah, everything. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, we have come to the end of the Q&A session. So thank you so much for all the overwhelming responses for the questions. For those that were unanswered, you may drop them into the KYC comment section, whereby the candidates will reply accordingly. So without further ado, we'll move on to the closing statement. As Zare was the one who opened his speech, we will allow Jiachuan and Suwon to close it first before moving on to him, and then we will come to an end for today's session. So over to you, Jiachuan and Suwon.
All right. Okay. Now, before we end our opening speeches, on behalf of my partner, Suwon, and our party, Ignitas, I would like to thank the current office bearers, Dulana and Imaya, and my fellow candidate, Zari, for cross-examining our policies and providing constructive feedback on it. We would also like to thank the returning officers for doing an exemplary job in maintaining and coordinating the debate sessions, and of course, the SOE community for taking the time off to listen to our manifestos despite the hectic schedule we possess. Suwon and I believe that we possess the necessary skills, empathy, will, and determination required to represent the SOE community's heart, soul, and voice in Monash, which is exemplified by our undertakings in Monash Academy, EAMMSS, Europe, SLN, and PAS. Shout out to all the seniors, juniors, and peers, you know who you are, that have molded us into the leaders that we are today. If we do get elected as your representatives, we will work to the best of our abilities to further the legacy of SOE as a faculty that stands tall and humble in Monash. To all Monashians, I would like to say, together we rise.
Thank you.
All right. I would like to thank each and every one of you guys staying for us till the end of the debate. I sincerely appreciate your time, and I'm sure that we're having a hectic week with all our assignment and tasks. I would like to thank you for caring about the school representative positions and organizing your schedule to be present in today's debate. I am extremely glad to be given the opportunity to be standing here today as your SOE representative candidate. I'm willing to invest all the time and effort required to achieve an exceptional success in our school. I would like to thank MUSA and the other candidates for their continuous effort. I'm extremely impatient to establish our committee and my subcommittee, and I do hope our attendees today apply and participate in our journey. I'm willing to serve you in the best of my ability, and I do hope you approach me as a friend and not as a school representative, meaning I wish you create a harmony among us. I hope you refer to me and for advice and guidance. Once more, I do like to thank you for your time. I do hope you participate and assist us in achieving our mutual goal together by voting for me, voting for us, benefiting you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Zari, and thank you to all candidates as well as office bearers and also the students who have joined us today to watch this exemplary debate. So if you still have any further questions, once again, you may drop into the KYC series on the official MUSA Instagram page, or you may also reach out to the candidates themselves. We have come to an end for the SOE debates for today's session. So due to the delay, we will be starting slightly later for the next session, which is for the School of Science, also our last session for the day. We will begin at 8:05 p.m. So for those of you here, we do hope to see you join in that session as well to support the candidates as well as to suggest questions or perhaps constructive feedback for their policies and manifestos. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for today and see you in the last session. Thank you.